you need to stop looking at your hands when you play guitar, because it looks like you don't know what you're doing. So guitarists looking at their hands when they're performing on stage really, really bugs me. Maybe more than it should, but the thing that triggered me super hard was on some blog. It might have been Tumblr, it might have been somewhere less embarrassing, I don't remember, but like, this blogger put up a picture of their favourite guitarist. I don't want to take a big old crap on something that someone clearly really enjoys, that's up to them, whatever, but like, their reason for choosing this person as their favourite guitarist was just super flawed to me. The reason this person was their favourite guitarist was that they were always so immersed in what they were playing that they could not take their eyes off their hands. That's not why guitarists look at their hands, though, is it? It's not because they're immersed in the music or whatever. Again, I don't want to take a crap on things that people enjoy because you'll all get mad at me again. So I'm not going to mention the band they were in, and I'm not going to mention the style of music that that band play. But there is definitely some correlations with particular styles of music and lazy musicians. Let's just say that. As a performer, if you spend an entire gig looking at your hands, people are going to think you don't know what you're doing. Other than the one blogger that triggered me. It's that simple, and it's also really bad stagecraft. I will actually give you some useful educational advice on how to tackle this issue if you feel you suffer from it. You're just going to have to let me vent for a second, yeah? I'm not saying that you should never check your hands to make sure you're in the right position, but once you've found your position, that should pretty much be it. You should have developed muscle memory to know how far away a semitone is, or how far away the next string is, or what your hand needs to do to turn whatever chord you're playing into a minor 7 chord, for example. If you're going from a lead part into a rhythm part, or for whatever reason you need to change your position on the guitar, I think that's fair enough to check. I'm not saying never check, I'm just saying don't always be checking. So what can you do to never have to look at your hands too much? The actual educational part of this video, and it's really simple. Practice with a blindfold on. If you don't have a blindfold, just be properly strict about not looking at the fretboard. So start by playing open chords, because they're the easiest, because they're the first things you learn, probably. And once you can swap between open chords, try swapping between bar chords or power chords. Lead stuff can be a bit harder, so it'd allow yourself a glance to get into the right position, but from there you should be relying on muscle memory, as I mentioned, because you've spent the last 10 years practicing scale runs, right? I'd probably forgive you as well if you were doing tapping or some other advanced technique, but the fact of the matter is, this person's favourite guitarist from earlier, they weren't. They were just playing chords. You shouldn't have to look at your picking hand at all, by the way, because when you're at rest between chords or in between songs, or you're palm muting, you've got this bit of your hand on the bridge of your guitar, right, where you can feel individual strings and how far apart they are and the distance between them and your pick. That's all you should need in terms of knowing where your picking hand is. This is a fun game that can help you stop looking at your hands. Find a backing track, any backing track, doesn't matter if you've heard it before or not, doesn't matter what the key is, doesn't matter if you don't know what the key is. Without looking at your guitar, you're going to put your hand somewhere high up the fretboard, and when this backing track is playing, you're going to play any note without looking at what you're doing. If you happen to hit a nice sounding note, try and find the next note you want to play and develop some sort of solo, again just without looking, just trusting that your hands know where to go. If you happen to hit a bad sounding note, if indeed you believe that's a thing, if you hit a bad sounding note, you either bend it or vibrato it till it sounds less bad, or just hold that note until it stops sounding weird. It's a fun game and you should try it right now. But why is it bad stagecraft to look at your hands? People who pay money to see a show want to see a show, and they want to be interacted with. Even if you're shy and you don't enjoy being on a stage, you've got to fake that you do. If you're looking at your hands the entire time, people are either going to think that you don't like being where you are and therefore they won't have a good time because they think you're not having a good time, or they're going to think that you don't know what you're doing and will therefore feel ripped off. Neither of these are things you want. When I work with young bands and guitarists, which is part of my day job by the way, one of the first things we talk about when we're looking at stagecraft, which is being on a stage, is being able to look at the audience. Most of them get it really early on, which is why it's super irritating when I watch a more established band who can't stop checking what they're doing. This isn't the 90s. People aren't going to think you're cool and brooding. They're just going to get bored. If you're the nervous type that really just can't look at the audience for whatever reason, then look at your bandmates, those people that you make music with all the time and, presumably, you enjoy the company of. If you look like you're having a good time with your buddies on the stage, then people are gonna think that's fun and they're gonna think, hey, I want to have a beer with that person. And that's what you want, because that's the kind of person that will then buy all of your merchandise. So there. That is why you need to stop looking at your hands. You should have a bit more trust that your hands know what you're doing without you micromanaging them. And if you really need to, just practice with a blindfold on. It's all about making the performance engaging for the audience, because otherwise there's no point in them being there. And that's just a fact. Thanks for watching, especially if you've subscribed to this channel. If not, do that now, please. And I will see you next Friday at 4 PM GMT. Toodaloo.